So we've talked a lot about solving problems with data, and I want to go into a really interesting example. And this is not just sort of solving some of the stuff that we talked about early in marketing and stuff like this. This is transforming healthcare. So we were approached over a year ago by a great partner of ours called New Wave, and they really are working, at an interesting scale with the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid to transform healthcare. So we'll take a bit here, and we're going to go through the use case and help us better understand what they're going after. So we'll roll the video.
15 years ago, my son was diagnosed with autism, and I found it impossible to really get access to the information that I needed to share with my family, to share with his teachers, to share with other providers that are engaged in his care from different directions.
We have accepted for too long a worse state of technology in healthcare than we would in any other sector of anything that consumers or individuals experience.
A common procedure, such as a hip replacement, typically involves getting care from 4 or 5 or more providers in different locations with different information systems. These systems don't necessarily enable the sharing of data in an efficient way.
Healthcare in this country for a long time has been based on what's called fee-for-service. It was recognized over time that did not necessarily lead to better outcomes.
We need better data information, and we need interoperability. Those things are really, really critical for moving the system forward. You can't deliver value-based care without having the right data at the right time in the right format to the right people.
Not only does this legislation permanently fix payments to doctors, but it also improves them, because what it starts doing is encouraging payments based on quality and not the number of tests that are provided or the number of procedures that are applied, but whether or not people actually start feeling better.
CMMI was set up to test and scale models for payment and care that would improve the healthcare system in this country. One of the major contractors to support CMMI's work is New Wave Technologies. New Wave's a small, innovative company and had recently won the IDOS contract.
On the IDOS contract, we're working directly with CMMI to deliver the highest quality care while constraining costs where appropriate. Healthcare has tens of thousands of diagnosis codes, procedures, as well as payment mechanisms and the providers that provide that care. Docs are trained to provide the best care possible. They're not trained to be able to ingest tens of thousands of data elements. We can help providers improve how they deliver care and change their behaviors by giving them the right information to focus on so that they can actually get their jobs done.
The kind of data we can look at is things like who got which procedure from which doctor, do they need to get that again, can we just share the records with the right doctor, and we can really try and start connecting the dots between whether people are getting seen at multiple doctors even though they only need to see one doctor, or they're getting multiple procedures when they only need one procedure. We need a deeper collaboration, and we need to finally bring the technology and the data and analytics that exist in other industries to healthcare.
One of the reasons that I'm really grateful to be working at New Wave is to be able to work on projects with CMS where I think the technologies we can deliver will improve outcomes. But I'm also very grateful to be able to work for Patrick Munis, who not only sees the opportunities from a business and technology perspective, but also how we might use these tools to solve for the greater good.
Gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Chief Executive Officer for New Wave, Patrick Munis.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank Frank and the Looker team for inviting us down here to present this morning. You know, I think the story this morning really is a story of the relationship or the partnership between New Wave and Looker, and how we feel is a transformative way of bringing innovation to solve some of the biggest problems in America. As an engineer and an entrepreneur, I've always believed in building systems that help people solve, make people's lives better. So one of the things that we did, was we really spent a lot of our time trying to figure out how do we bring the things that how do we bring the partnership between New Wave and the what we're doing in the federal space and the rest of the community. So like Frank, I've always also believed in the collective, creating a culture of collective responsibilities. That is like, we believe in the last 15 years as a company, we've worked very closely with our partners and the vendor community to kind of help solve problems. We aspire to problem solve for America and the rest of the world, and we feel very strongly that the government is a necessary partner to business success and to collective innovation. So here's what we decided to do. We decided that we needed to kind of create a new paradigm. How do we bring Silicon Valley innovative technologies to the government? The first thing we realized was healthcare data was highly dysfunctional. Data was kind of locked away in old formats and legacy systems. And we also realized that we needed to kind of bring the best of breed technologies together to kind of help solve this problem. So one of the things that we did out here was that we made a trip, like Frank said, like a year ago to the Looker office, and we actually made a tour around Silicon Valley to really kind of figure out what are some of the best technologies out there that we can use to solve this problem. And we were able to kind of look for companies like Looker, Snowflake, and Databricks. So I'm going to talk today about my partner, my primary customer, which is the Center for Medicare and Medicaid. Center for Medicare and Medicaid is the biggest healthcare payer in the country. And Medicare was created, for folks, when you get to the age of 65, everybody gets, you're entitled to the Medicare, stuff. So every one of us is going to really interact with this system. So as part of, in 2010, one of the, exciting things that happened in 2010 was the Affordable Care Act, right? Affordable Care Act became law, and it added a new level of complexity to the healthcare ecosystem. Affordable Care Act is still here with us today, right? And as part of the complexity has added to the system, it has also created a lot of opportunities for companies like Looker. So as you can see, 25% of the budget goes to healthcare. $1 billion spent every year on federal innovation programs, and 1 million practitioners are going to be using this system. So as part of the ACA, was created a center at CMS called CMMI. CMMI, the I in the CMMI is called innovation, right? And a couple of years ago, New Wave was given the opportunity it was awarded a contract to build the next generation analytics platform for CMS. So as you can see, in order for us to be successful with this platform, we needed to kind of have next generation analytics. There's no way we could really, we're going from a fee-for-service world to a value-based world. It required us to kind of think about things a little bit differently from the way we do things. So one of the things that CMMI does, which is pretty, you should think about CMMI is think about it as a place where a bunch of, experiments are performed, and depending on how successful those experiments are, they are rolled out across the country. So in the CMMI terms, there's a concept of what we call models. A model is a constellation of people, process, and policy and technology. That is, so a bunch of experiments are performed. If they're successful, we got to scale them up. And for us to be able to kind of achieve this, we needed to kind of do that. We needed to kind of have the best of breed technologies. The impact of what happens at CMMI has an effect everywhere. So just to kind of give you a little bit of insight into what we're talking about when we talk about data, some of the big data challenges that we're facing is we have close to 5 petabytes of data, healthcare data that we manage for the government. You know, this kind of problems are problems that we can't build with the traditional type systems. We needed to kind of think outside the box, for technologies such as Looker, Snowflake, and Databricks. So as part of a couple of things that we're doing with Looker, which I think is super exciting, is we're building the next generation dashboards for physicians. So now physicians can kind of look at metrics, in real time from our Snowflake, our repository. And part of the things that we're doing right now is that we're also building things like blocks. And we see things like this as ways of really creating an ecosystem. You can imagine an ecosystem. We build a marketplace of blocks that we can share among different providers. So this is an example of a dashboard. The key thing is, don't bother yourself about the UI, but the key thing here is there's a lot of calculations going on here, right? This is, we have about 60 different KPIs being, displayed here on this screen. So this is a lot of, compute power that we can only do with a technology like Looker. So I just want to thank you guys for your time this morning. I really want to say, we feel like there's a new paradigm out there, which is bringing innovative technologies, from Silicon Valley and from elsewhere to the government to kind of solve major problems. Thank you guys for your time this morning. Also, I'll say this, shameless plug, we're hiring. So we need the best minds out there. And also we have a session afterwards. You guys can kind of stop by if you want to drill down into what we are doing. Thank you guys very much.